We welcome one and all here at Good eReader. We don't care if you're big or small, short or tall, or have Google Play, but only VGA resolution. This is the Veidoo, and it is here to party, we think. This is a 5.8-inch Google Play enabled unit, and one of the selling points is low resolution, with a whopping 648 by 480 resolution. There are times when you literally can't even see what's on the screen, and no, we're not joking. We'll show you in a little bit. Where did this come from? We actually don't know because we got this randomly sent to us in the mail. But specs on paper wise, this is an absolute first, and we have never seen this combination in our 16-year career in the e-reader industry. Let's dive in to the Veidoo. This is a remarkable time that we live in, that we can get a $129 e-reader that is essentially fully loaded. It has a speaker, it has physical page turn buttons, it has an SD card, it has a microphone, it has USB, it has a touch screen, it has Wi-Fi. There's not anything it really lacks, but where I believe they made up the difference in the overall cost is with the screen. This is by far the worst looking e-paper screen I have ever seen, almost period. And we'll show you what we mean with not being able to consume content with your eyes. But before that, let's look at the build. It's actually pretty nice. The back has this nice white pearl paint. It's tooled beautifully with kind of contrasting different levels of white. So this is more of like an alpine. This one has a little bit of coral in it. It's quite nice. You have these flat physical page turn buttons that go back, forward, and back. It's got a lot going for it. The SD card is nicely situated at the bottom of the unit. The only downside for the construction wise is that it's reflective. Now they give you a screen protector installed on this when you get it, and that's reflective as well. So it just makes no sense why all these Chinese manufacturers just refuse to put in a 47-cent matte screen protector. I don't understand, but let's weigh it. This is supposed to be lightweight, which it is, and remember, for basis of comparison, a Kindle is approximately 200, and this is 162. This is pretty lightweight, guys. It's not going to be a Famue that's only 80 grams, but for a full e-reader, 160 grams is not a lot. Let's look at the overall UI, because this is where it gets... This is where we're on the fence. And why I say that is because as we dive in, we see something very important. Google Play. That marks this unit as the 13th manufacturer in our industry to use Google Play. And that's a far swing away from 1, what it used to be, and 3, what it was just a few years ago. And now we're at 13 with a whole bunch of models in that lineup. On the home screen, you get home, back, and refresh. If you tap the top bar, you get all of your things up here. You get screenshot acceleration, which just clears the RAM, and you have Wi-Fi and airplane mode. Unfortunately, there's a few things that are missing. It doesn't have a glow light. It just has a contrast dial. And it doesn't have a speed mode. So that really kills it. Those two things. That honestly just kind of puts the nail in the coffin for me personally. Not the group consensus of our reviewers here at Good eReader, but the fact that it has no glow light just sets me off of it because you can't see it at night, and that's just period. I mean, that's all you see is just that darkness. The settings are very basic. They have connected devices, you have app info, power, storage, and system settings. It does not tell us what version of Android is on here because there's no about us on the unit. You do have these physical page turn buttons, as I said. They're not physical to the point where they press down. They don't depress, but they are hardware driven on the side bezel, and they do work. It's quite okay. Now we go to apps, and you'll see these are your apps. Now when you get this, even if you go to storage and try to go open things from your internal memory, they won't open because there's no apps to associate anything. So if you think you can start a music file, it's going to say we can't open it because there is no music application on board. You do have to put your own apps on here. Now there's a good thing is that Google Play works perfectly fine, and you can sign into it and download things. And you can sideload in your own apps via APK, and when you do, you can now listen to music. I'm almost saddened to say that sounded better than the hi-fi digital audio player Famue we just finished reviewing. That sounded great. There was nothing wrong with that whatsoever. At full blast, it filled the room nicely, had some nice treble to it, good amount of bass, no quarrels whatsoever. It can run music. This cannot run video. We've already tried, and we're not going to show you because it's awful. It just can't support it. Now, in terms of Google Play, why it is amazing that it has it is one thing, but also is that it didn't have any GSFID workarounds or even certification backdoor entries. It was preloaded on here on a new product, and you just sign in and it works. This is actually easier to get into than Onyx or Bigme or almost any other manufacturer. I was very pleasantly surprised. Now you'll see here, contrast is what you live and die by. And there's no easy way to say this, but it looks awful no matter what you do. I don't know what that is. So you might say, okay, well, let's lighten up the contrast a little bit. And then you do, and then you get a little bit of an idea. You say, okay, well, it says life's not so sweet. I still don't know what that is. And then you say, okay, well, let's really get the fine detail. And then you go like that. And now you've gone past the threshold, and now you can't see what it is anymore. We have found that there is no middle ground or even way to mitigate this, because if you go too light, the device becomes unusable. You can't even see the screen. That is an honest representation of what is happening right now. I just want you guys to know, you have to have it on. That's almost like screen turn-off mode, which we've never seen in the industry. It is not a frightful thing to be faced with, but you could get trapped pretty easy if you think maybe your screen has died or dithered away. That's not the case. It's a weird set of circumstances, this unit. The resolution is just simply too low to do anything, but let's try to show you some ebooks. But before we do that, let's check out how this is as a manga reader. Well, it's pretty bad because it's very reflective, number one. Number two, it's very small. Manga is traditionally not this small. And number three, it's so slow. I can't really get a good use out of it because it's slow and it looks bad. I can't really read those characters. And again, you live and die by that contrast dial. So if I try to up it a little bit and say maybe I'll get the characters to be a little bit more rich, it becomes too black. And then everything just blends together. Well, then I'll just lighten it up. And much like what we faced with Google Play, you start getting these weird interlaced lines and staining in the background, and now I don't really know heads or tails of what's happening. So we really have reached a point where resolution used to be not that much of a concern in the early days of e-readers, as long as it played the content, but now it's not displaying it to the point of what we're used to. This is far too blurry for anyone to get an accurate representation of the artist's work, and it doesn't do the art justice either to read on such a low resolution device. Gun to your head if you had to, I mean, it kinda works, but not with complex Japanese characters, that's for sure. You can't really see what's going on there, but for the most part it reads manga. So how does this fare as an ebook reader? Honestly, it's a little 2012, 2013, but not that bad. It does have these page turn buttons, which work pretty well even on Google Play Books. It's a little bit slow, but you know what you get? You get haptic feedback, and what that is when you press down, you get a vibration through the vibrating motor that tells you you've pressed it. I think that's a nice touch. It's feeling very Kindle Voyage-y of them to do that. I think them pulling from the keyboard haptic feedback vibration and putting it into simple key presses like that really does give it a lot of character, which is why every time we get to a new section of this unit as we explore it, we're constantly torn. They have all these great points to it, but the hardware is not really there to keep up with them. It really is a matter of fighting with the price though, because it's so cheap. What's their priority? Giving you a good experience or the price? And if you say price, well then they shouldn't have included what they have, because they've included everything except a glow light, which I would love to see a second version if we can ever get an email from this company. But for the most part, it does work as an ebook reader. You can use it one-handed, you can swipe, you can press the physical buttons. It's a little slow, but if all you're using it for is ebook reading and you don't care that it's one of the 13 manufacturers with Google Play, then it does its job and then some. Incredibly lightweight, surprisingly fully loaded with features, and the cheapest Google Play enabled device on the market makes this honestly not the worst thing to buy. But when it all comes down to it, the resolution is so poor you really can't see what's going on. It is ridiculously slow and has no speed modes to assist, which just makes it unusable at times. You know what? This is one of the few times we're truly torn. It's a compact, lightweight, and Google Play enabled unit. Yeah, sure, but its usability is so questionable that it's hard to ignore the cons, despite how good the pros are. See for yourself. Don't take our word for it, grab one in the store. It is as cheap as e-readers come with this level of specifications that you are ever going to see. I almost guarantee that. Thanks for watching.